attention has a breaking point, and the automotive world just reached it. Because the moment everyone has been waiting for is no longer on the horizon. It's now. A few days ago, Matt Armstrong made a move that nobody saw coming. He partnered with one of the world's leading high-performance exhaust engineering specialists to develop a completely custom exhaust solution for the Bugatti Chiron. Not a modified factory system. A ground-up prototype engineered specifically for this car because Alex wanted it louder, more aggressive. A sound that matched the brutality of what sits under that body. Something like this. And Bugatti was never going to give him that. This is an upgrade the manufacturer would never officially provide, never sanction, and never guarantee. So Matt went and built it himself. And that changes everything, because this is not just another repair milestone. This is one of the first times in recorded hypercar history that an independent workshop has attempted to develop a prototype performance exhaust system for a Bugatti Chiron Pure Sport platform entirely outside manufacturer control. No factory involvement, no official parts, no blessing from Molsheim. Just an engineering team, a vision, and one of the most complex combustion systems ever put inside a road car. That is bold. That is innovative. And depending on how this plays out, it could be genuinely historic. But the internet is not celebrating, not unanimously. Because right now, the automotive world is completely divided over what Matt just did. On one side, you have the people who see this as exactly what the hypercar world needs. Independent builders proving they can go where manufacturers won't. Pushing limits that corporate engineering teams are too liability conscious to touch. They see Matt and this exhaust specialist as proof that real innovation still happens in workshops, not just in boardrooms. On the other side, you have engineers, mechanics, and longtime Bugatti followers who are genuinely concerned. Not trolling, not overreacting. Genuinely worried that this exhaust could fail. And when they explain why, the concerns are hard to dismiss. So let's get into it, because this is where it gets complicated. The W16 engine in the Chiron produces around 1600 horsepower. That number gets thrown around a lot, but what it actually means for an exhaust system is something most people haven't thought through. Under full boost, exhaust gases in that engine can exceed 1000 degrees Celsius. That is 1830 degrees Fahrenheit. Moving through the system at enormous velocity. 4 turbochargers simultaneously dumping pressure into a network of pipes that has to hold together, stay sealed, and maintain precise flow characteristics, all at the same time. The challenge here is not just installing an exhaust pipe. It never was. The challenge is building a system capable of surviving violent pressure spikes, extreme heat cycles, and constant vibration from a quad-turbo engine that was designed to hit 300 miles per hour. That is a completely different engineering problem than building a performance exhaust for a 500 horsepower sports car. The tolerances are different. The materials have to be different. The consequences of getting it wrong are different. This is why Bugatti builds its factory exhaust systems from advanced materials like Inconel or titanium. Materials that hold their structural integrity at temperatures that would cause standard stainless steel to soften, warp, or eventually crack. The internal chambers inside a factory Bugatti exhaust are not random. They are precisely engineered for specific flow rates, specific back pressure curves, and specific turbo spool characteristics. Nothing in that system is accidental. Every dimension was calculated to work with the engine mapping, the turbo sizing, and the power delivery curve Bugatti intended. The moment Matt installs this custom exhaust, he is stepping into engineering territory that has always been controlled entirely by the manufacturer. And some engineers online are not comfortable with that. Several credible voices in the performance fabrication community have pointed out that a W16 under full boost produces exhaust temperatures far beyond what most supercars generate. If the wrong materials are used in this build, even slightly wrong, welds can crack under thermal cycling, pipes can warp after repeated heat expansion and contraction. Catalytic components, if any remain in the system, can fail structurally before the car ever sees a serious run. And here is what nobody is explaining clearly enough. Matt has not publicly confirmed the full material specifications of this new exhaust system. None of that has been detailed yet, which means the community is debating a system it cannot fully evaluate, And that silence has only amplified the concern. Stay with me here, because later in this video, I'm going to break down whether this exhaust is actually likely to fail or whether the fears are exaggerated. And the answer is genuinely more nuanced than either side is admitting right now. But first, let's talk about the turbo pressure problem. Because even if the materials are perfect, the back pressure calibration has to be precise. If the exhaust system is not tuned correctly for this specific engine, the turbos will not spool the way they were mapped to. Back pressure can spike in ways the ECU is not prepared to manage. And at the extreme end of the rev range, that imbalance puts stress on components that were never designed to absorb it. At speeds above 250 miles per hour, the pressure dynamics inside this system become enormous. Which is exactly why some critics are saying that if this car ever attempts a serious high-speed run, the exhaust represents the most likely failure point. But here's what nobody is explaining. Bugatti engineers its factory exhaust systems for decades of reliability. For a car that will spend most of its life at road speeds, occasionally pushed hard by owners who paid $4 million for the privilege. Custom systems built outside the manufacturer are not designed to that same specification. They are designed for performance experimentation, for pushing boundaries in a controlled environment, not necessarily for lifetime hypercar durability. And those are two very different design goals, which brings us to the real question. Not whether this exhaust will catastrophically explode on startup. That is not a realistic concern, and it is not what serious critics are saying. The real question is whether it can survive long-term hypercar use, whether it can hold its integrity across dozens of hard thermal cycles, whether the flow characteristics are tuned well enough to work with the existing engine mapping without causing drift in power delivery over time. That is a much harder question to answer. And right now, nobody outside that workshop knows for certain. But here is why the exhaust might actually work, and work well. Racing fabrication teams have been building exhaust systems for engines producing well over 1,000 horsepower for decades. Formula One, Le Mans prototype programs, top-tier drag racing. All of these disciplines require exhaust solutions that survive extreme heat, extreme pressure, and repeated abuse. The knowledge exists. The materials exist. The fabrication techniques exist. What changes with the Chiron is the specific geometry of a W16 platform, the packaging constraints inside that body, and the interaction with Bugatti's proprietary engine management. Those are the real engineering challenges, not the horsepower number itself. Now, there is another layer to this story, and this one has been spreading hard online for the last several days. There is a theory circulating that this Bugatti may never run again, not because of the exhaust, but because Bugatti may have already digitally locked the car, blocked it from factory networks, removed it from software authentication systems. And if that has happened, the engine may not start regardless of how perfect the mechanical work is. And I want to be clear, this has not been confirmed. Matt has not stated that Bugatti locked the car, but the theory keeps gaining momentum because nobody has definitively ruled it out. The fact that the ECU situation hasn't been fully addressed publicly is the reason this conversation won't stop. So here is what independent builders are left with. Some high-performance tuning specialists have demonstrated the ability to work with encrypted systems on other European hypercars. Standalone engine management solutions exist that can, in theory, replace manufacturer ECUs on complex platforms. It has been done before on vehicles that manufacturers insisted could not be independently operated. Whether those solutions can be applied to a W16 Chiron with its specific architecture, its specific sensor network, its specific turbo management logic, is a question that has not been answered yet. And that open question is exactly why this build is still the most watched independent hypercar project on the internet right now. Because what Matt Armstrong is doing here is bigger than one exhaust system. It is bigger than one rebuild. This Bugatti project has become a referendum on a question the automotive world has been circling for years, but never directly confronted. Who controls a hypercar after it leaves the factory? The person who bought it? Or the company that built it? Manufacturers have always maintained that control, through proprietary parts, through software locks, through repair networks that independent shops cannot access, through warranties voided the moment an outside hand touches certain components. It has been the unwritten rule of the hypercar world. You buy the car, but the manufacturer keeps a hand on the wheel. Matt Armstrong is pulling that hand off. If this exhaust works, if the engine starts, If this Chiron runs under its own power with an independently engineered exhaust system on a platform the manufacturer never intended to be serviced this way, then something shifts. It proves that the engineering knowledge to independently maintain, modify, and rebuild hypercars at this level exists outside the factory walls. It proves that the manufacturer's control is not absolute, and it opens a conversation about what independent hypercar repair can actually become. The stakes are not just mechanical, they are about ownership, about the right to modify, repair, and take full possession of a machine you paid for, about whether the future of hypercar restoration belongs to manufacturers or to the builders willing to figure it out one impossible problem at a time. Matt Armstrong is betting that it belongs to the builders. If he's right, nothing about how hypercars are repaired will ever look quite the same again. And this Chiron won't just be a rebuilt car, it will be the car that changed the rules. Subscribe if you want to be here when we find out.